Hey guys, Ben from Beck Photography here, and today we're looking at how to shoot music photography in a poorly lit venue. So yesterday I was offered by my friend to shoot his black metal band at one of the most poorly lit venues I've ever seen. It's probably the worst lit venue in my city. All the lighting is red and it's very dim, so it's a very challenging venue to shoot for sure. The camera I used for this shoot was the Sony a7R II mirrorless camera. I used a Sigma 24mm 1.4 lens on the camera body with a Sigma EF to Sony adapter, and the flash unit I used today was the Nissin 700A flash. So I started off the shoot just using the available light from the venue, but because the light was so ridiculously red and there wasn't really much light going anyway, I decided to change from just the available light to using my flash and bouncing it off the top of the ceiling. Here's one of the photos I took with the available light from the venue. As you can see, it's absolute garbage. I shot the shot at 6400 ISO, 1/25th of a second at the aperture of f2. And even at this really low aperture and low shutter speed, I was still having to use a crazy ISO just to get the perfect exposure. If I'd had absolutely no other choice, I probably could have turned this photo black and white and done some editing techniques to get some okay shots. If I can avoid it, I really prefer not to convert my photos to black and white, because I feel like you're losing a whole dimension when you're removing color from something. Not to say that black and white photos can't be good, but personally with music photography I prefer to keep the color there if possible. Here's a shot I did using my Nissin flash to bounce light off the wall. I used a ISO of 800 in this photo with an aperture of 5.6 and a shutter speed of 1/25th of a second. The reason I use this aperture is because the a7R II doesn't have fantastic autofocus and terrible light, so it was just easier for the camera to find focus so I could get more shots. The reason I chose a 24mm for this shoot is because, first of all, the venue is really small, so I can get really up close and personal to the musicians, but secondly, when you're using a wide-angle lens, you can really paint a picture of the surrounding area of the subject that you're shooting, and I think that really sort of tells a story of what's going on in your shot, rather than using a telephoto lens, for example, and sort of drawing all the focus onto the musician you're shooting and not really showing the viewer of your image the surrounding area of your subject. Okay, so now that I've shown you the steps for taking the photo, let's go into Photoshop and I'll go through the steps of how I edit music photography. So, first things first, Jack told me that he wanted his photos to be sort of creepy because they're black metal, and black metal bands are meant to be creepy, a bit scary, satanic. So the first thing I want to do to this photo is I want to really boost the clarity up, just to sort of accentuate all of the veins in his arms and things like that, and sort of make his makeup look a bit more intense as well. So that's the first thing that I want to do. Second thing I want to do is I want to boost the vibrance up a bit, just so I can get some more color into the image, make it pop a little bit more. Then I'm going to drop the highlights considerably, just to make the whole image look a bit more grimy and grungy. So let's see how much I want to do that. Probably about this much here. So now that I've dropped the highlights, the exposure of the image is a little bit underexposed. I'm just going to boost the whole image up a little bit like this. And another way to sort of make the image look a little bit more grungy is I can really boost the shadows up as well, just to make everything look a little bit more flat. So that's the first thing, just fixing up the exposure and the shadows and all that sort of stuff. Might drop the whites as well, just to make the whites look a little bit more grey and grungy. Cool, so that looks good. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the colour temperatures, just to make the whole image a bit more cold, a bit more creepy looking. So let's do that. To around about here on the blues, and then right there on the greens. But now, as you can see, his skin looks a bit strange, and this guy here, his face has gone blue. So I'm just going to get a paintbrush tool and sort of re-colorify some of the bits that have gone like a bit too far, just to make them look a little bit more normal looking again. Because I did like the skin color of Jack and the rest of the band members, but I just thought that the whole scene was just a little bit too warm. Now that I've sort of added that back, I think it looks pretty good. Yep, so that looks good. Maybe I'll just do a little bit more over on the skull as well, just because it's looking a little bit green. Yep, that looks great. Okay, cool. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take this into Photoshop itself. And as you can see, there's what you probably can't see because it's quite small, but there is quite a lot of noise just going on, especially where the shadows were. There's like a lot of grain here. So I'm just going to go to Filter, Noise, and Despeckle the whole image, just to sort of make it a little bit smoother. If you're watching this in 1080p, you may see a difference there, but you're probably not going to see a difference if you're watching this video in 480p or even 720. So the next thing I want to do is I want to just select everything around Jack, because I shot at an aperture of 5.6, which is quite a high aperture, especially in music photography. So I just want to sort of get all of the part of the photo which isn't the subject and sort of give it a bit more blur, just so I'm making Jack, who is the vocalist here, pop a little bit more. So I'm just going to go to Gaussian blur, give it a 2 pixel radius of blur, and then I'm going to move this selection over a little bit, just so I don't have a hard line where the blur starts. Just do that a few times, maybe 4 or 5 times, just to make him sort of pop. Yep, so that looks good. Now he's looking a lot more in focus, whereas the background is looking a lot less in focus, so that looks good. So I think that's pretty much it for this image. I hope you like this tutorial. Please like if you learned something new, and subscribe for more content if you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much.